Hey everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial we are going to be creating a really sweet little tote bag. So I have this little plain white canvas tote that we are going to decorate, and I thought it'd be fun to do it with the Cricut Joy today. So I did pick up some smart iron-on, and this color is the navy color, and I thought that would be really pretty. I love navy and white and anything kind of nautical, so I think this will turn out really neat. So I thought I would make a library book bag for myself. I am very excited for the day when we can go head back to the library, and I always really like having a little bag with me because even though I usually only go for a book or two, it seems like I always pick up about 6 or 7. So I love to read. If you guys have any good book recommendations, by the way, please pop them in the comment section because we have some time on our hands to enjoy good books right now, and so I would love to hear your recommendations. So anyway, I'm going to be making a little canvas tote for the library, and it's going to be just a little book bag that I can put my little checked out items in. So for this project, you are going to need some smart iron-on, and I'm going to be using the Cricut Joy. You can use any cutting machine for this. I'm just going to use the Cricut Joy today because I got a new roll of smart iron-on that I have been really wanting to try out in the Joy. You'll also need a tote bag. I will link this one below. I got this in a 3-pack from Michael's, and it's nice and white and perfect for this project. So it just arrived in the mail this afternoon, and so I'm super excited to get it all decorated. As for other materials, you're just going to need some scissors and a weeding tool for weeding out the HTV, and then you're going to need a heat press mat and then a iron-on protective sheet. I'm going to be using the EasyPress today, so this is the EasyPress 2. You can use a household iron or you can use a mini EasyPress, whatever you'd like. Disclaimer is that I have never had success with a household iron, so I quickly, after I started cricketing, I quickly really wanted an EasyPress because it just made everything so much easier and my projects were much more successful. So I think that's quite it for materials, but the first thing I'm going to do real quick is I want to make sure that I get this measured. That way I can pop into Cricut Design Space and show you the design that I'm going to be using. So this canvas bag is 13 inches by 13 inches roughly, so that is perfect. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and pop into Cricut Design Space and we will get the design all ready to go. And don't worry, we will get this all ironed out in just a bit. That's the wonderful thing about the EasyPress, is that you can quickly iron it and make it all straight and perfect right before we get everything ironed on. So let's pop into Design Space, we'll get everything designed, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to take a pre-made design and do some tweaks to it to make it just perfect for me. All right everyone, let's get started. Okay, so before I get designing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the shape box and I'm just going to replicate my 13 by 13 inch canvas tote. So I'll just go up here to the width and type in 13, and I'll just kind of have this handy. This is just going to help me size everything and size my design. That way I only have to get it all done one time and sized once, and it will cut right the first time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with adding the image I want. So I went in here and I just typed in a library and I liked this. So I'm going to insert this one. Now I love the idea of this, but I don't love everything about it. So it's okay if you do. You can definitely use this as a, beginning and end SVG, but I am actually going to do a little bit of editing to this to make it exactly how I want it. So I'm going to bring it down here because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to contour some things out. So I'm just going to come in. I just don't really love the library font. It's just kind of choppy to me. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out, and contouring just means highlighting and then clicking any part of the image that you want to remove. And that's why I like to put my image down away from this contour box, because I like to be able to kind of watch things disappear as I do it. I'm also going to remove this little book. While cute, it's just not what I'm going for. Okay, so now I'm going to hide the contour box, and I still am going to say the library is calling and I must go, but I'm going to add a different text for the library. So I'm going to just go to the text box and I am going to type in library, and then I am going to highlight it and then come up here and use the font Hey Charlie. And this is from Font Bundles. It was a free download at the time that I downloaded it. And again, I'm just going to be making this for personal use. It's just for myself. So that is where you can grab that font as well. So I'm just going to size this up. I just thought this was just a cute little font. Okay. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and put this "the" right over the library. So what I'm going to do is I will go over to a shapes tool and I'm going to grab a square, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice the so I can move it. Right now it is part of one file, so I'm just going to separate it from the other file. So what I'll do is I will grab the square, and then I will grab the library is calling file, and I'll come down here and click slice. So what you do when you slice is you just place your shape box over the area that you want to take away or move. So I'm just going to delete that box and then delete the little gray part, and then I can go ahead and move this because now it's a standalone part. Okay, so now that looks great. So now what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I can, is this all going to cut perfectly? Oh, hold on, I got to size it first. I was going to say, this is all going to cut perfectly on the Joy. Let me go ahead and get it all sized, and then, whoops, whoa, there we go. And then we will see how, if we need to slice this apart and how we can cut it. So I'm going to just size this up by grabbing all of them. And I'm just going to go and place it on my tote. And that looks pretty great. Okay. Just going to size that down just a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to apply the and the library down together. So I can't put this all together on one, because this, if I went to weld it together, it would be too big for the Joy at the current measurements. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just cut them in two different files. So I'm going to have the is calling and I must go as one file, just like that. And then I'm going to weld these two together, the and the library. Let me make sure they are aligned. We will say, let's see, we will say center. Whoops, no we won't, go back. We will say that and library. We will say center horizontally, just like that. Okay, so those two are now together. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and weld these two words together. So we're going to have two different files that we are going to be working with. So we will cut them separately so that they fit on the Joy. And if you are working with a Maker or an Explorer 2, you can go ahead and weld both of these together. That way you only are laying down one piece, and that way you don't have to, you know, center it or recenter it or anything like that once you have it cut out. But since we're using a Joy and it does some smaller cuts, and the way to get around that is just to do it in two different little cuts, and then you can just place them separately on your design. Okay, so we're all ready. I'm just going to go ahead and hide this little square, and then we will go ahead and click make it. Now what we'll do is we will tell it that we are going to do without a mat, because we have some smart iron-on fresh from the box that is matless. So then what we can do is just click done. And then what we'll do is we will just verify that it is without a mat. It looks like it's all ready to go here. I might drag, let's see, those are a little too close for my comfort. So I'm just gonna kind of drag those around just like this. Okay, and then I will click continue. Now it's just gonna locate my Joy, so it's just doing that via Bluetooth, and then we can go ahead and set our materials. So I'll go ahead and browse all materials, and I am just gonna click Smart Iron-On, and I can go ahead and favorite that, and then I'll click done. Now it's going to say that make sure mirror is turned on. Thank goodness it reminded me, because I did not do that yet. So we're going to go here and just say mirror on, just like we would with any iron-on. Thank goodness for Cricut, because I was going a little too quickly and I totally forgot that. So when you're working with iron-on, make sure you mirror it, because if you don't, then it will cut upside down and then you have wasted all that iron-on. So now we can verify that mirror is turned on, yay. And then it's gonna say the iron-on material is going to face shiny side down when we put it in there. I'm gonna maintain default pressure, I'm not gonna change this. And now we are going to use our fine point blade, and it's already loaded in there, and then we'll load our machine with our material. All right, everyone, let's get started. We also need to look at the heat guide just to know how we will move forward with our heat settings. So what we'll do is we will click the Cricut EasyPress 2, because that is the press that we'll be using today. We're going to select our heat transfer material. So we're going to go down to Smart Iron-On. And then we are going to select our base, which is canvas or cotton canvas. We'll just do cotton canvas. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to tell it we also have our Cricut EasyPress mat, and we can click apply. And this is going to give us our heat settings. So it says we will preheat the material for 5 seconds before doing anything. Then we'll have our EasyPress set to 340 degrees. We are going to press for 30 seconds with light pressure. Then we'll flip our entire tote bag over and press for an additional 15 seconds. And then another important thing is this is a cold peel. So we're going to have to be patient, let this completely cool, and then we will peel up our transfer sheet. So it will also tell you any type of additional supplies that you're going to need and how to prep. And then I love that it tells you some care instructions for your design once it's done. So the heat press guide is really nice to use. It's just really easy to use too, and it just helps you make sure that you are going to do all of the correct settings the first time and that you can follow all the directions. I really like that it states the cold peel versus warm peel or hot peel, because that can really ruin a project if you don't do it correctly. All right, so now that we have our instructions, we can go ahead and get cutting. Okay, so now we have our iron-on all ready, so we'll just go ahead and open up the Joy, and it reminds us that the iron-on material is shiny side down. So there is a shiny side and then a dull side. It'll be very obvious in person. So again, the shiny side is face down, and we will just go and auto load that into the machine. And the first thing it's going to do is it's just going to pull all that material in, and it's going to make sure we have enough material to cut. So I really love that it takes that step, because after you do all of your designing, it double checks that you actually have enough material to actually create the project. So I really enjoy that it just double checks for us. So now it says we can go ahead and click go. So now it'll just pull it in and it will start the cut. So it'll be really fun. Now while it's doing that, what we can do is we can go ahead and preheat our EasyPress. Okay, so our heat press is now plugged in, so we can go ahead and turn it on. We are going to just select the temperature button and then hit the plus button to bump it up to 340 degrees Fahrenheit. And then what we'll do is we'll click the timer button and bump that up to 30 seconds, because that is the timer we'll be using to press. So once we have both of those selected, it will start to preheat, and then it'll give a really cute little chime once it's done, and we will know it's all ready to go. Okay, so now it's completely cut, and what I can do is I can click the unload button on my computer, and then I'll go ahead and shut the little Joy, and it looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place it in my paper trimmer here. That way I can go ahead and cut off my extra scraps, at least most of them, and then I'll have a nice clean straight line to reapply or re-put this in the Joy when I go to use it again. So just a little baby piece left for this one, so looks like I'll be ordering some more navy. But we can actually go through and cut off some extra scraps as well. So what I'll do, and it chimed, so I told you it's really cute when it chimes. It's so well thought out by Cricut. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through and make sure that I have cut off the rest of my scraps. That way I can keep any and all pieces of this really pretty navy, because I will definitely be using this again. I love navy. Okay, so I have some scraps, so I saved just as much as I could, which is amazing. And now I will go ahead and start weeding out my design. So I can grab my little bye-bye bin. If you guys didn't catch this, I made this in the last tutorial. I'll link it for you up here. I think it's where the link comes up. And it's gonna help me just keep track of all those little pieces of scraps, because you really want to be careful with iron-on scraps, because if you accidentally leave any of them on your work surface and then go to press your design, then those little scraps can accidentally press onto your shirt or canvas bag, and that would just be awful after all the hard work you put into it. So I'm just going to place all my little scraps in there as I go. And then weeding is simply the process. If you are new to weeding, all you're doing is taking out all the little pieces of the design that you're not going to use. So usually I like to start by removing just the back area, and then I go through and then I just grab all those tiny little middle pieces of letters. So let me continue on with that, and it's starting to look like the design we did. And if you'll notice, it's upside down. So that was when we mirrored our image, because I'll show you in just 2 seconds. Oh, I'm loving this bin. It's actually my first time using the little bin that we created yesterday. So I'm super excited that it's definitely worth it. So then once we turn it around, we are actually going to lay it down on our design just like this. So now it is right side up, so that is why you want to mirror it. So iron-on or HTV, whatever you call it, it is a mirrored image because it has this built-in transfer tape or carrier sheet. So it's just really helpful to know that you have to mirror that. That way you don't ruin your design. So let me see, I think this was upside down. Let me go ahead and do the same thing here. So now with this banner, we are actually leaving the banner and weeding out the letters. So just kind of remember what your design actually is. And it's also really helpful if you keep your design up in Cricut Design Space while you're weeding, because sometimes with certain designs, it's kind of helpful to reference it to make sure you know what areas to weed out and what areas to leave. So most of the time it's very obvious, but sometimes in some designs it's not so obvious, and you're left wondering what to keep and what to toss. So just grabbing the middle of these letters. I think this design is so fun. And I love that you can, do a little bit of contouring and a little bit of slicing just to really get that design exactly how you want. I think the addition of the new font in there just is really fun. Okay, so now I'm going through this little process of taking out all the middles of the letters. Okay. Thank goodness that we're in such a digital world right now. My husband actually got me a brand new Kindle for my birthday a couple weeks ago. So it just arrived 2 days ago. And it was, for some reason, on back order. So I'm really excited. My other one accidentally broke last summer. So I'm excited to get back into reading. But if given the choice, I really prefer paperback. What do you guys prefer? I love paperback books, but my Kindle comes in handy because I like to read at night, and then I don't have to reach over and turn my night stand light off when I'm done, because I guess I'm lazy like that. So the bin worked great, you guys. Oh my goodness, I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to the side, and now I can just make sure that no pieces were left on my workspace, and then if I turn these over, then this is our design. So now what best practice I like to do is I just take my weeding tool and I just slowly just go over each letter, making sure everything is weeded out, because once you press it, it's on there. I've heard there are ways to get iron-on off if you accidentally press something, but I personally have never done it, so I've never had to, find a remedy for that mistake. But just take that double step and just make sure. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set these aside, and I'm going to remove my little floral mat from my workspace because I want to make sure that I just have a bare table. Sometimes even underneath this heat mat, this EasyPress mat, it sometimes still gets a little warm, so I just want to make sure that there's nothing underneath it because I don't want that nice floral mat that I worked hard on making to get ruined. All right, so I'm just gonna recheck my settings and we will get started. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm just laying down my tote bag right on my EasyPress mat, and I'm going to go ahead and preheat the material for 5 seconds. Not only that, I'm gonna go ahead and just get all of the little wrinkles out the best that I can. That way, first and foremost, it doesn't bother my eye anymore because I get really picky about wrinkly things. I don't know if you're the same way, but my goodness. I focus on the wrinkles more than anything else, so sometimes it's just nice to get that all straight and pretty. So I'll go ahead and just do the other side as well, just to get everything all pretty. Okay. All right, so now what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and set my pieces on. Okay, oh, I think that's gonna look so great. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this one down here. So I am going to put them on in two different, I might trim this actually. Let me trim this so I can just get it a little bit closer. I'm gonna put them on in two different presses. And I'm just trimming that bottom piece so I can get it just a little bit closer there. And when lining up, I'm just going to kind of use these little reference, it might be hard to see, but where the handles are, I'll use that as a little middle point. Okay, and I can use my tape measure too. Okay. So what I'll do is, that's about 2 inches from the top, and it's about 2.5 inches from the bottom. But you know what, I kind of like it. Maybe I'll bring this down just a little. That's fine. So now we're at 2.5 and 2.5. Well, we might as well just do it just so. So then I will just measure the library. That's 2 and 3/4 by 2.5. So I could bring that over just a little. Okay. It really looks good to my eye though, so I'm not going to move it anymore because it really looks good in comparison to the handles. So now what I'll do is I'm just going to move off this bottom one, and I'm going to make sure that these little bottom pieces where they're folding, I just want to make sure that they're not going to interfere with where I'm pressing. So I'm just going to kind of fold those down. So I'm going to take this first one off, and again, my material is preheated, so we're all good there. And I'll set this to the side, and I'll just put my mat right over it, and then I'm going to grab my EasyPress, and I'm going to place it right on top, and then I will press the Cricut button, and it will start counting down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do light pressure for 30 seconds. And I love that it has the little timer on here because it makes it really easy just to not have to chit-chat and count at the same time. So it's going to count down for me. Again, light pressure. And then I'll go ahead and do the second one as well. Now, when it is time to pull up this, go ahead and pull it up. When it's time to pull up this little protective sheet, you want to be really careful because it does get really hot. So you want to just grab it by the corners and just make sure you're very careful. I burnt myself before on here, actually on a video, I believe. And yeah, it's not fun to do. So now I'm just going to grab my second one and I'm going to lay it down. And you want to make sure that you do not have any of your design overlapping. Okay, and you want to make sure that, you're not overlapping some of your iron-on, this clear carrier sheet as well. So you want to make sure that's all good. That's about 1 3/4. Okay, that looks really good to me. So I am going to go for it. Okay, so now I'm just going to place that all over there again, and I'm going to do, I think I'm going to have to do this one in 2 little sections, so I'm going to go ahead and do the first section here. Okay, and then this little second section, and now that I'm looking at it, I totally could have done this in one. I could have laid down both and done it together and just done it in 2 sections. So you can do that too if you're using these same dimensions. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now what you're going to do is, again, we're going to be very careful in taking our carrier or our protective sheet up. It's looking really nice. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and flip this over, and we will go ahead and press for an additional, let me make sure I know where my design is, additional 15 seconds. So I'm going to do one side and then the other side. Whoops, I'll turn it off. Okay, and then moving over to the other side. And then it's going to be a cold peel. So this waiting for the peeling part is always the trickiest part. We've done so good so far, so now we just have to be patient and wait. So now we'll just take this off. Okay, and I'm just going to flip this over and let it cool. So I'm just going to let it cool completely, and then we will go ahead and peel up the sheets. Okay, I've been patient, and now it is cool, and so I can go ahead and start peeling up. So I'm just going to take a corner and peel. And it is so pretty. It did a great job. It's coming up very, very nice. Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness, it looks so good. So I'm just going to make sure everything is laid down, which it is. You guys, it's a matte finish. It does say so on the box, matte. You guys, in person, it's so beautiful. So it's not shiny. It's a nice, like, dull navy, and it's very, very pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and peel the second one up. Just going really carefully and slow. And those are nice and down. So the trick, again, make sure you always are looking and making sure you know that it's a cool peel for this particular project. So you just always want to watch that. When I first made a tote bag, I didn't look at that, and I was peeling right away, and it was just a mess. It was coming up. So you always, if you're feeling like you're having a problem, make sure you double check your, I want to make sure this little piece is up. I might repress just right there. So if you ever need to repress, all you need to do is just place this sheet right back over. You never, never, never want to have bare HTV next to your iron. So you don't want to place them together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that piece right back on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to repress it for maybe about 15 seconds. So I'll just go ahead and do that bottom half again, just a little bit longer. And let's see, the start. And I'm just doing this bottom section. And so if you ever notice that you have like any little lifting, sometimes it happens, then make sure you just lay everything back down and repress, and it usually resolves it fairly quickly. Okay, and so now it's repressed just for a tad bit. Ooh, make sure I grab up here. Don't want to get any hot fingers. Okay, so now I'm just going to wait again until it's completely cool, and then I'll go ahead and peel it up. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel up that second little section. Okay, and the little section that I questioned the first time is perfectly fine. It looks great. So now I can go ahead and toss this second little clear sheet because I don't need to do any more repressing. Oh my goodness, I'm in love with it. I hope you guys loved this. And just to tell you, in person, this matte finished navy is just gorgeous. So I will be placing another order for this because I just about used my entire roll for this project. It is so pretty, and iron-on in the Cricut Joy was so fun. This was actually my first time doing iron-on in the Joy. I've done it many times on my Maker, but so easy, so easy, so fun. You'll just want to, again, make sure you're making the sizing appropriate for the machine. So again, this full size would not fit in the machine, so you're just going to have to put it in 2 sections, and voila, it looks great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'm really anxious to get back to the library, but until then, I'll just be reading digitally. Please be sure to make sure you send me your book recommendations because I love to read. I'm a little bookworm, and so are my little girls. So send me your book recommendations, and make sure you guys are all subscribed. I would love that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and if you ring the bell, then you get a cute little chime whenever my videos are live. That way you can be one of the first to see what's coming to the craft table next. And you guys just have a wonderful week. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy, and in the meantime, open a book, pour some coffee, and just enjoy some light reading. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks, guys.